Okay, I think we're live. I think I got it to work. Let me know in the chat if the microphone is working, video, audio, everything is good. But according to Wirecast here, it should be working. But yeah. So today, as the title says, Apple Magic Keyboard Live Q&A. If you guys have any questions about this setup, or you have any questions about anything else, you can ask me. I just wanted to kind of answer questions directly to those of you who wanted to ask me directly. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Voidbox, just message me on Discord, and we can talk after this stream ends. But yeah, it's nice to see you guys here. Have a couple of mods here. Obviously, just keep things kosher. Obviously, there's not going to be like a ton of people here, but for those of you who are here, just keep things kosher. That's all I ask in the chat. But hey, how are pancakes? How are you? Nice to see you. So yeah, just wanted to give you kind of my my running update on using the iPad Pro now as this configuration. So I have my my mouse set up here, and this is actually being taken from whatever is displayed here is being taken from my Mac because I need to see what's going on my Mac for the stream. But I've actually been using it basically like this all day long, and also yesterday as well, where I have the mouse. So I have the mouse using that on my iPad Pro, and then also the keyboard as well. I like the trackpad, but when I use my my trackpad on my MacBook Pro, I just get like a little cramped up. And the trackpad on the MacBook Pro 15-inch model is so much bigger than what's on the Magic Keyboard with trackpad. So I love the trackpad. It's great if you don't have a mouse handy. It works great. I actually played around with it a little bit today, and it really works. The cursor is very accurate. It goes jumps to certain things pretty well. But so far, this setup is actually working really well. And I've heard a lot of rumors about Final Cut Pro coming to the iPad, Photoshop, and everything like that. And I think that would be a great addition, functionality-wise to the iPad, specifically with the keyboard and trackpad setup here. I think that would convince a lot of users to switch over. So I'll read the chat here. Nice haircut, Tony. I do not go to a barbershop. No. I actually don't normally go to a barbershop anyway, so my hair is pretty easy, what is left of it, to cut. So no, unfortunately, I've actually been inside pretty much all day, every day for the past couple weeks. I've only gone out like a couple of times. Hi, Mr. Neff Street, and hi, Chris Stevenson. I recognize you guys. How to protect the iPad corners when using a Magic Keyboard. Unfortunately, that's not even an option, simply because you have the iPad is magnetically, it's very strong magnets. So you could maybe put on a bumper, but that would interfere with the Magic Keyboard material here. So the smart connector on the back needs to connect with the smart connector on the iPad. So you can't really have a case in between that. I doubt case manufacturers would create a case that would have kind of like a throughput. It would have to be very thin. It just wouldn't make sense for anyone to have a case. So unfortunately, you can't really protect the sides of the iPad when you have it in this configuration. That is one thing with my previous iPad Pro 10.5-inch model that I had. I had the Smart Folio, and unfortunately, there was no protection on the sides. So that is one thing to think about. If you want to purchase this, you're kind of putting all of the edges at risk. So you might want to get some Apple Care. One thing that I saw with today with Apple Care is if you have an iPad Pro and you have Apple Care, that Apple Care will actually cover the Magic Keyboard and trackpad as well. So if you have this device, like water gets on it or something fatal happens to your Magic Keyboard, you can actually replace that through Apple Care that you use with your iPad. So that's a pretty good deal, just in case you guys want to check that out. But I always recommend, if you have this setup and you're taking it outdoors and everything like that, it has a potential for getting damaged. Definitely get Apple Care. I've used it on an iPad before, and it would have been really expensive to get that screen replaced if I had not bought Apple Care. So let me read through. You just got yours today, Nick Andreas. That's really cool. How do you like it, Nick? Because I really actually like this setup. I think if a couple more programs came to the iPad, I'd totally use this over my MacBook Pro. In fact, I've been using this all day long for writing emails, text, and everything like that, just all in the iPad. It's been a great experience so far. When is the third beta coming out for iOS 13.4.5 or the public version? So two things. The third beta of iOS 13.4.5 will likely come out tomorrow. I do expect a release of iOS 13.4.2, I believe, yeah, point 2, to be coming Thursday for the release of the iPhone SE. I'm not quite sure what the status is on that. I'm not sure if Apple will release something new simply because the A13 chip is the same chip that we've had on the iPhone 11 Pro Max and other iPhone 11s. So I'm not exactly sure when there might be another official version coming, but likely we will see like beta 3 come out tomorrow for iOS 13.4.5, and of course I'll do a video on that if it does. But I do expect the iOS 13.4.5 beta 3 to have a lot of changes in regards to the keyboard. There are some bugs with this keyboard. It's not anything serious, but there is still a couple of things that could be fixed and streamlined. And I think they'll do that here within the beta updates that will be released to the public within the next couple weeks. But we definitely need a little bit more testing with these devices simply because it needs to be kind of more streamlined to work with iPadOS. So have you tried the Magic Mouse with the Magic Keyboard? I'm just wondering if they work together. Voidbox. So the Magic Mouse with the Magic Keyboard on the iPad, I'm assuming. The Magic Mouse 2 works well. The functionality of the Magic Mouse 2 is not as high as, like, let's say the Logitech MX Master 3, just because it has buttons here on the side that you can customize, and also right-click functions and everything like that. There's a lot more controls that you have with the MX Master 3 or any mouse like this, but you can, with the Magic Mouse, use it fully on the iPad. The one thing with the Magic Mouse is it has scrolling capabilities because it is meant for like macOS. So macOS, you can swipe side to side and everything like that. Unfortunately, with the MX Master 2 or 3, whatever mouse you may have, it probably doesn't have those swipe features. So the Magic Mouse is actually really nice to work alongside iPadOS UI. The Magic Keyboard does work, but it's kind of long. Like, it doesn't really make sense. Having a platform and everything like the Magic Keyboard, like this new Magic Keyboard for the iPad, I think that would work a lot better. That way it's just all uniform. You don't have to find something to tilt your screen or anything like that, or look over on your iPad. This setup is actually pretty good. Let's see here. For a student, would you recommend getting an iPad Pro with the smart keyboard or the MacBook Air? That is interesting. It depends on what kind of student you are. For me, I've actually been able to do a lot of my schoolwork on the iPad. I've been able to basically do all of my schoolwork on the iPad. The only thing that you need to make sure is when you go about creating documents and everything like that, you generally can't do anything in like Pages, Keynote, or anything like that. You have to do it in Microsoft. So you have to get those apps for the iPad. That's the only thing I've run into, but for a student, I would definitely recommend the iPad. The MacBook Air, I'm not exactly sure the battery life compared to the iPad Pro running with the keyboard just yet, but for me, the iPad has always been a little bit more efficient, so you might get more battery life out of the iPad Pro with this setup versus a MacBook Air. And you also get the capabilities of using the Apple Pencil, and the form factor is just a little bit smaller. So I would recommend going with an iPad Pro setup specifically for a student, because the iPad Air, it's a good value, but if you don't need a lot of storage space and everything like that, I'd say this is a better value. But do keep in mind, this is quite a pricey setup, so it's an investment either way. But for me, I go with the iPad Pro. It's been a great kind of device for being a student. Are the magnets too strong? I'm never gonna say they're too strong. So Hot Pancakes asked, are the magnets too strong? I'm never going to say that they're too strong. I would say, though, that they are a lot stronger than before, and it's kind of weird. But you don't want these to not be strong. With the Smart Folio, with the iPad Pro 10.5-inch model, they had the Smart Folio. The magnets on that were not as great. They weren't as strong, and it would be easily kind of removed from the Smart Folio. This has a really good grip. It's very hard to take off. If I pull on it, it takes a lot to get off of the magnets. I actually prefer that versus having something that's loose, might fall, or might just, like, while you're carrying it, slip out or something like that. Random accident that could happen. I actually like the magnets on this device, and obviously you need more weight to kind of keep everything together here. So I'm really impressed with the build quality here, so no complaints with the magnets. Andrew Blaha, I just bought the Magic Keyboard for my iPad Pro 11, first generation from Best Buy. iPad Pro 11, oh, got it. iPad Pro first generation. Yeah, I think you'll like it. I really do. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have the 2018 model. Yeah, I'm not, I thought about upgrading to 2020, but there's no point in upgrading. So just for those of you who don't know, didn't watch a video or anything like that, you can use a 2018 iPad Pro with the Smart Keyboard. You don't, or the new Magic Keyboard. You don't have to have the latest 2020 model, even though it was released alongside the 2020 model. So I'm still running 2018. It's working perfectly fine, and I have no reason to upgrade. It's not even, the upgrades are so minimal and disappointing. It's just not going to happen for me. The cameras are not going to be a big deal for me. But so far running this setup, I think versus a 2020 iPad Pro setup, it's probably going to be the same experience unless you're doing a lot of AR work and everything like that. Let's go through the comments here. Oh boy, these really do come through a lot quicker. Switch Easy case works as a bumper. I'll have to check that out. If you let me take a note of that. So the Switch Easy case, because that's actually going to be a very big topic when it comes to the Magic Keyboard, is just protection on the side. So I will check that out on Amazon and give you an update on if that works. I'll probably just get it and see if that's a good solution there. How long did you wait for it to get delivered to you? Oh, that's for someone else. If the third beta comes tomorrow, will there be a new video tomorrow or the next day? I always do beta releases day of, as far as videos. So, yeah, if you want an update, I'll have it day of. Hey, Jeff, where do you get your 100% kind of shirts from? Go to ride100%.com, and that's where they have all these shirts. It's like a cycling motorcycle company. They have some pretty cool stuff. So, yeah, ride100%.com. How small is the trackpad, and would the Magic Trackpad 2 be better to use? The trackpad is pretty small. I'll try and hold it up here. But if you want a better kind of representation of how big it is from top down, go check out my content on the iPad Pro. Running the Magic Keyboard, I showed a lot of different angles of how this looks. But as you can see, the trackpad, finger for scale, on the trackpad, it's a decent amount, especially for a device like this, but it's not as big as, let's say, the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro trackpad is huge. I'd say the MacBook Pro probably has almost 4 of these trackpads inside of that surface area. So it's definitely not as hefty, or kind of like surface area wise, it's not as much as a MacBook Pro. But for me, using this is fine. As I said earlier in the stream, as far as like using this trackpad versus the one on my MacBook Pro, I never even liked using the trackpad on my MacBook Pro. I just, my hand gets kind of crunched up and I don't like using it. That's why I prefer to use a mouse. So yeah, this is actually a pretty good setup. For most people though, that maybe don't have that problem, the trackpad is actually really nice. If you use like a lot of room behind the trackpad, it feels just the same as the MacBook Pro. It's about 4. Okay, so iOS 14 new wallpapers. I Of course there's going to be new wallpapers with iOS 14, so I do expect that. Um, if you want to be a mod, you have to contact me on Discord. So Discord is the place where I actually answer all the messages myself. So if you go onto Discord, just PM me or write on a channel at Tech Review, and then I'll read those and get back to you as far as mods and everything like that. We have quite a few, but yeah, I just don't want random people modding. I definitely want to know like who you are and everything like that. Is the keyboard easy to fold? Says Hot Pancakes. So the keyboard is very easy to fold. So you can go back and forth like this to kind of fix the orientation of your iPad Pro. But you can also fold it down. Now, as far as like folding from here to here, it is very stiff. It's a lot stiffer than what I thought it would be, but I actually really like that. It just kind of gives a little bit more confidence that this is going to last. I feel like the build quality of this hinge is really, really good. It feels much better than MacBook Pro. So I actually am really liking the hinge here. It is a little bit tougher to fold, unlike like the MacBook Pro. Very easy. I could probably do it with one hand if this wasn't on a slippery surface. But for this, I have to do it with two hands. But to me, that's not a detriment. That's actually something that bodes really well, because I think this device will be lasting a lot longer than maybe other devices, maybe from Logitech or just other case makers that might not have the same style hinge. I'm not kind of bashing on their products. I just think like if they don't use a hinge design that's similar to this and it has all this weight up top and you're kind of moving it, I don't think it'll last as long. So Apple did think that one through. So Jay Rivera says, how is it if you're going to write on Notability? Do you have to take the iPad Pro off, or do you have to do that weird setup for putting it face up? Are you talking about with the Apple Pencil? I'm assuming so, because I use Notability with the Apple Pencil for the most part. I don't really type on Notability. So as you can see, the angle is just, that's the farthest it'll go. So the angle is kind of weird. I can write like this, but it's more scribble. The handwriting isn't going to be as accurate as if it were face down on the table. So if you're looking for like the face down on the table kind of experience where you're writing like a pad and paper, you're going to have to take it off the Smart Keyboard. For me, using the keyboard in conjunction with the Apple Pencil, it would basically, like in Notability for me, if I'm taking notes for school or just notes in general, I would use the Smart Keyboard to type and then make annotations with this by just going and making them via the pencil, and it would be in this format. I wouldn't need to worry about, detailed handwriting or kind of more like perfect handwriting. It would just be scribbles, like scribbling like a word or two or circling something like that. But as far as like pad and paper on a table, the writing experience is not the same because this is the farthest angle that it can go. And obviously it just gets even worse from that. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Does it flip back and lay flat? Chris Dommel says, does it flip back and lay flat? I hope I just answered that question. It does not. Voidbox, what sources do you use to get wallpapers that are linked in the description? I find them everywhere, but I'm not going to give you the website that I mainly get mine from. That's a secret. I never share that with anyone. But if you do want to check out like more wallpapers, go to the Discord server for Tech Review. There's a wallpaper section, I think for iOS, Android, and everything like that. And there's a lot of people that post really cool wallpapers there. I guarantee you, if you go to that section, you'll be changing your wallpaper like weekly, maybe even daily. Like there's a lot of cool stuff there. So go check it out. Link is in the video description to Discord. I'm watching Matt13 says, I'm watching this on my iPad 7th generation 10.2. Awesome. I used to have that iPad. Very good iPad. When will Apple release iPadOS 13.4.2 and iOS 13.4.2? I was talking about that just a little bit earlier. As far as an update goes for iPadOS, specifically iPadOS, I don't think they really need a critical update for the Smart Keyboard or the Magic Keyboard. Because there's not too many bugs with it. I think that will probably be pushed in the iOS 13.4.5 update. If there's a 0.2, I would only think there would be a 0.2 update if the iPhone SE needs an update of any kind. So that's coming out Friday. So if there was an update, it would likely come either tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday. So, or it would have come today, Wednesday, or it will come tomorrow, Thursday. So, yeah, check back tomorrow as far as Thursday goes. It might be beta 3 of iOS 13.4.5, or beta 3 of iOS 13.4.5, or an official release of iOS 13.4.2, but no one really knows. Apple's been kind of random with their updates. But typically before a new product release, we always see an update. So I do expect one to be here tomorrow. Is this Q&A for the iPad or a personal or both? Says Grayson Anderson. Grayson, you can ask me anything. It's a free country, so you can ask me anything. I just put Apple Magic Keyboard Live Q&A just as a title. You can ask me anything. As I said earlier on in the stream, if you have any other questions, you can ask me in the comment section there. So Grayson, I read that. When will Apple release watchOS 6.2.2? I have, to be quite honest with you, Andrew Blaha, I have not been keeping up with the Apple Watch software. I've had no complaints with Apple Watch software. Like watchOS has been fantastic. So since I haven't had any problems, I'm not really keeping up with the updates. I'm going on the betas and checking out some new things here and there. But so far, I've just not been into it just because it's not that big of a deal for me. But one thing I wanted to highlight, if you go to the face gallery of watchOS, there is a ton of things here. Like face gallery has a ton of new stuff. So definitely check that out. Like if you're waiting on like an update or like you need to update your watch, check out the face gallery. I noticed for like the new Apple Watch, the latest generation of Apple Watch, there's a lot more watch faces. And yeah, I'm going to have to go and check these out and customize them. It's been a long time since I've been in the watchOS or in the Watch app to check out what's new. Oh boy. Holy crap. Hot Pancakes, thank you for that $1.99. Thank you very much. No need to super chat, but if you guys want to, I'm probably just going to give all the super chats to some local charity or something like that. In fact, quick fact, for the iPhone SE, I will be giving one of those away. I ordered two. It was a big blunder because one is going to be really late. That's the one coming from China, from Apple directly. Funny enough, the one coming from Apple directly is going to get here later than just going to Best Buy and picking it up. So I'm actually going at 10 a.m. to Best Buy, picking up my iPhone SE, and then the second one will be coming. But I don't want to deal with a return or anything like that, so I will be giving that away, and the details for that will be in my video on Friday. So stay tuned for that. And I just thought maybe one of you guys might need a new iPhone, like an upgrade. Maybe you have like an iPhone 6, iPhone 5S, something really old. You want an upgrade, the SE would be a perfect upgrade. And both of them are product red, 64 gigabytes, so not the best, but if you're desperate for an upgrade, you know, it would be free. So free is good. Zachary Allen, do you think that a trackpad keyboard will come out for the iPad 10.2 inch? If I'm not mistaken, I to answer your question, I do think that there will be something, but maybe not to the build quality that this is. $350 is quite a hefty price tag for a keyboard, and for the 10-inch model, it just wouldn't make sense because that's a lot of money for the iPad. I'm not saying that your iPad is a bad iPad. I'm just saying like cost of the iPad versus cost of the keyboard, the ratio is just totally nuts there if you actually do the numbers. So what Apple has just released is new Magic Keyboard, $299 for the 11-inch, and then it's like $350 for the 12.9-inch. There's a new Smart Keyboard Folio that will likely work with the 10.5-inch model. Actually here, new Smart Folio, iPad Pro, 12.9-inch and 11-inch, first and second for the 11-inch, third and fourth for the 12.9-inch. Smart Keyboard, that looks the same. So it looks like no other like devices other than the iPad Pro got new keyboards. So that's super disappointing. As far as new ones coming out, this is a great starting point for Apple. I think that they've kind of set a baseline here. Typically they do that. They release something super expensive, then they work down from that and kind of reduce features and or build quality to kind of fit the price range of people that are trying to get this at a lower price. So I do expect something like this to be coming out for other iPads. Maybe when the next iPad is released, there's an accessory that goes along with it that's like this, but it probably won't cost $350. It'll probably cost like around $200 to $250 for a bigger model, and maybe even less for a smaller model of iPad. But I can't really see Apple making a device like this for older iPads. So I hope that answers your question, but unfortunately the news is kind of bad in regards to they probably won't be making this accessory available for older iPad models. Enzo B, could the iPad Pro replace a 13-inch MacBook Pro for a high school student? If you are a high school student that edits video, photos, and all that, maybe you're a heavy user of Photoshop or something like that, then no. But if you're speaking just on the terms of being a student, a high school student, taking notes, doing homework, and everything like that, yeah, an iPad Pro would be a good idea. Getting a 13-inch MacBook Pro, the MacBook Pro takes up more battery life. So while you're in school or after school, whatever time you're using the computer, it's going to be less with a MacBook Pro versus the iPad. So you have to keep that in mind. Also, processing power. What are you using? Are you using Pages? If you're using Pages, the processing power between the two, no difference whatsoever. So you just have to think about what you're going to do, what you want to do in the future as well. If you want to video edit in the future, you seriously want to video edit, you can still do that on the iPad Pro. It won't be able to do like 4K stuff that well. It still can. There's tons of people that have edited 4K videos on the iPad, but the MacBook Pro would be faster. But then again, battery life is not going to be as great on the MacBook Pro. So for me, my personal opinion, I totally go with the iPad Pro setup just because with this keyboard and trackpad from Apple, it works natively really well. This is a perfect solution. Companies like Bridge, they have a trackpad and keyboard solution, but it doesn't work as well because it uses Bluetooth to connect to the iPad. The trackpad isn't as accurate, misclicks and everything like that. And then the keyboard is also Bluetooth. So there's going to be some Bluetooth lag versus the smart connection here, which takes a hardware approach to connecting the keyboard to the iPad. So everything's just as it would be if I connected a keyboard physically to this MacBook Pro. If you think about it, what's connecting this keyboard on the MacBook Pro to the operating system or the CPU, everything like that? It's a pretty similar connector to the smart connector. Obviously, it's not a smart connector, but it's like a wire, something similar to what you have on the iPad Pro. So the latency of the Magic Keyboard, a lot better than anything out there. So yeah. Dev Patel, hey Jeff, hi. You say hi, you say hey Jeff on all of my videos, so I really appreciate that. Thanks for coming and watching this stream. Should I buy the 11-inch or 12.9-inch, I'm assuming iPad Pro, says Apple Tech Likes. So that all depends on what your use case scenario is, but I actually had the 11-inch to start out with. So for this iPad Pro, I got the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch to see exactly which one I wanted. I personally like the bigger screen simply because I'm so used to using my MacBook Pro, which has 15 inches of screen kind of area here. So going from 15 to 11, it's actually quite a big difference. I know that's like a very first world problem, but if you're going to invest into a full setup like this, and you want to totally replace a MacBook, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, whatever device, I'd say go with the 12.9-inch model. But if you have an 11-inch model, it's not going to be a life and kind of like death difference, it's still going to be pretty good experience with the 11-inch model. So yeah. Omar Penaloza. Sorry, I'm really bad with names. Do you have a HomePod? Yes, I do. Oh boy, yeah, I do have a HomePod. I hope they release a second version because this one was really disappointing. Just the lag on it, not really lag, but like if I like started playing music right now, it would take like 3 seconds to actually start playing on the HomePod, and then it would take like another 3 seconds to turn something off. So they definitely need to fix some of the latency issues, and that's half like or partly due to the fact that they don't allow native Spotify playing or whatever connection. It's just ridiculous. Apple needs to build a new HomePod that's a lot more user friendly to people who don't use Apple like services like Apple Music. Braden Davis, please don't spam. That is what he said. Yes, please don't spam in the comment section. I noticed someone asked me for an iPad. I am not giving an iPad away. I'll give something like an iPhone SE away. But an iPad, no. I don't have the money to give away just iPads to everyone. Do you film in a studio or do I live here? Take a guess. Take a guess on if this is a studio or if I live here. If you consider it a studio, that's a huge compliment. If you consider it my home, that could also be taken as a huge compliment. But take a guess. And I want to see what you have to say. Should I buy the 11-inch or 12.9-inch? Apple Text likes, I believe I answered your question. The chat is coming a little bit like the latency isn't ultra low latency. It's on the low latency. So I'm not reading chat as it comes in like immediately. So I will get to all these questions though. If you ask a question or anything like that, I will get to it. Any super chats that come in, I'll answer those as well. Those come up like a little bit more highlighted. But if it's just a regular chat, just let me read it and I'll get to it. So Zeth Grover. Oh, that's a totally different conversation. He's chatting with Brandon. I'm sorry for this off topic from the iPad Pro, but do you know if they are ever going to update the firmware for the AirPods Pro? Says Jay Rivera. So the AirPods Pro, yes, firmware is going to be released for that. So I didn't think this was video worthy, to be quite honest, but I did want to say that the AirPods Pro firmware, basically people have been sending in like AirPods Pro for warranty. So maybe they have like one that needs to be warranted, and then they send in the one, Apple sends them something back, and the one that they've been sending back lately for the past month or so has had different firmware than the one that you had, like the latest firmware that's official to the public. So they've been sending stuff with firmware that's like down the line. It hasn't been released yet. So that's actually been posing a lot of problems with people that have been warranting AirPods because they can't use one because the other one can't communicate with the other one because the firmware is different. And there's no way to update the older one to the new firmware because it's not available yet. So I do expect new firmware to be released with like iOS 13.4.5 or 0.2, something like that. But it should be coming soon because there's actually a like good amount of people that are having that issue where firmwares don't match and they can't use their AirPods normally. So yeah, I do think firmware will be coming. I'd be interested to see what kind of bugs you have, simply because I have a few bugs as well, but I'd just like to see what your experience has been. So Ismael Pecheo says, what is the biggest advantage of having the iPad over a MacBook Pro, or do you prefer one over the other? I'd say as far as having the iPad over a MacBook Pro, I will say that I do prefer the iPad Pro setup. It's just a lot lighter of a setup. Not like physically lighter. It is physically lighter, like the weight is just less, but it feels lighter. Like it's not as big as a 15-inch. Now, if I had like a 13-inch MacBook Pro, maybe that would be a different story, but the extra kind of space here with a 15-inch, you can definitely tell that this is a lot like smaller of a form factor. So I do appreciate the form factor of the iPad Pro. For most of the work that I do on the iPad Pro, it's all schoolwork, documents, writing, everything like that. Light browsing, YouTube. I use an iMac Pro for editing. So I really don't even have a use right now if I switch to the iPad for the MacBook Pro. So if it's between this and the MacBook Pro, I'm totally going to go with the iPad Pro. But keep in mind, I do edit, I do a lot of other stuff that needs a very powerful machine, and that's where the iMac Pro comes in. So for me personally, this device is kind of becoming irrelevant, but for someone else who may use a MacBook Pro, 13 or 15-inch model for editing, they would, or they should, pick the MacBook Pro over the iPad Pro. Zachary Allen. Also, one thing, Zachary has been doing this. If you want to ask me a question, try and tag me. So just do @TechReview, tag me, and then I will respond more promptly, so I don't have to read through everything. Okay. So Zachary Allen says, Tech Review, do you know if there will be an Apple Watch 6.3? As I said before, I really don't know. I haven't been following up very much with that. So that is I don't know. With the Apple Watch, I think they've hit like a limit. They just, there's so many features that they want to add, but they just don't want to rush it. So they're probably going to wait for watchOS 7 or something like that. So I doubt that we'll be seeing something really soon, like with big changes or even consistent updates. They haven't been as consistent with watchOS as they have been on iPadOS and iOS. Should I buy the... Okay, so... Sorry. It's been taking me a long time to get through these, but I will get to your comments. Someone with a Asian writing name. I'm sorry, I don't speak Chinese, or it might be Korean. But a really high price for a keyboard, yes, $350 is a very high price. So I can't wait for watchOS 7. As far as the people with the little like tool by their name, those are mods. They're real people. So yeah, they're real. Margaret Guevara, I have an iPad Pro 10.3 inch, and the keyboard stopped working because of the pin connectors were not connecting, and the keyboard or the keypad is worthless now. That really sucks. I don't know what to tell you there. Like, as far as the warranty, like, I hope you would have a warranty left, but a lot of times Apple does set something up. I've been past my warranty period on certain devices, and Apple kind of helps you out. They kind of just like want to say, hey, we appreciate your business, and we'll kind of just forgive the extra warranty period that you really don't have. We'll just kind of honor that. So I would take it into Apple, but if it's been like over a year and a half, unfortunately, you might have to buy a new one. But do check that the pin connectors on your iPad aren't damaged, and it's not the keyboard, because if it's your iPad, getting a new keyboard won't solve that problem. So make sure to check on that before you go down that road. Wow, there's a pretty big argument on the mods right now, and what their responsibility is. iPad Mini 3 will get the OS update. Omar Penaloza. I don't know. iPad Mini 3, I don't know about the iPad Mini. I think the iPad Mini is kind of out the door. Like, as far as like the thought of the iPad Mini for Apple, I don't think that they're really focused on the iPad Mini. Dev Patel, is a MacBook Air good for a student almost in college and heading into senior year? So I'm assuming you're in high school. Yeah, the MacBook Air is a good device. I would consider the iPad Pro for note-taking, specifically for college, because college has a lot of note-taking requirements. So I would consider the iPad Pro, but if you are looking more at the MacBook Air, that's a very good option. I'm also having, Andrew Blaha says, I'm also having problems with my AirPods Pro with Bluetooth, so when will Apple release a new firmware update for the AirPods Pro? As I said before, I don't know, but I do expect very soon for them to be doing that, just because they've already been they've already been releasing or kind of giving back AirPods for warranties with firmware that hasn't been released yet. Tablet mode. People have been. Larry Weru says tablet mode. People have been flipping the keyboard case upside down to show how the iPad can work in tablet mode. But how well does it work when you close the keyboard case and rest on the iPad Pro on top? So if I take this and I fold this down, there's actually no flex. So there's no flex. So you can do that. It's an extra step. The magnets will hold it just a little bit on the back. But yeah, you can flip that down. Unlike the Smart Folio case that came with like the previous generation iPad Pro, this is a lot more sturdy, and the back has a lot more material. It's not as flexible as what you saw with that other case. So yeah, you can flip this over, like flip it down and put it on top and still use it flat. High price for a wonderful design. Yep, I'm watching on an iPad Pro. Cool. Okay, so Enzo B says, how does the iPad Pro work on a monitor? The iPad Pro on a monitor works great. If you have a monitor like an iMac, or not an iMac, but like an external monitor, like an external monitor, it will work very well. The UI is actually really good. I really like the mirror. I think is perfect. So I can AirPlay the screen to my TV. Works great. The latency is not bad at all. And yeah, with a monitor, the iPad actually I think is pretty much the same with as the MacBook Pro hooking up to a monitor as well. So I'd say the experience is about the same. Obviously, with like software and everything, this is running iPad OS, this is Mac OS, so things will work a little bit differently, but you can still use this pretty effectively. Epic Sound says, is this keyboard worth it? That depends on what you're going to use it for. $350 if you have a 12.9-inch model. That is really expensive. Like if you $350, the new iPhone SE is $399. So just $50 and you have like an iPhone that has a screen and can make calls and everything like that. This is just a keyboard and trackpad. So yeah, it's very expensive. But if you are going to basically invest yourself into this ecosystem of Apple, like this part of the ecosystem, and you're going to roll with your iPad instead of using a MacBook or a MacBook Air, it's worth it. I don't think this can compare to using an iMac, but it is more portable. So for me, having this setup really crucial and actually pushes me more away from the MacBook Pro. So I'd say for me, it's worth it just because this is a much lighter setup. I can use it for a lot of things, but maybe for someone else that wouldn't use it as much, it wouldn't be worth it because you have to factor in like that price tag of $350. If it's $100, I'd say, yeah, it's worth it for everyone because it would be a totally great product, but it is $350. I have a question for you, Jeff. Says Mac OS. I don't know how to say her name, but he's a mod. My dad owns an old MacBook Pro that I think is from 2008 or 2010, and I'm thinking of giving him the Clean My Mac program to use on his MacBook Pro. Do you know if it will take it? I think so. They've been making that software for a very long time. Just check on the Clean My Mac website. Check the system requirements and see like what the compatibility is, but that all depends on what version of macOS he's running, or if it was like OS X whatever back then. Just check on that. That will be crucial. As far as like how old a machine is, it doesn't really matter like what hardware it has. It's really what operating system that he's using. Oh, do you know if it'll make it faster? Sorry, I saw your second comment here. Likely a lot, or do you think the speed will be very little amount of increase? That depends on how much is backed up. So as far as like day-to-day operations, I noticed that my MacBook Pro and my iMac that I run Clean My Mac on, they work quite fast just because I dump the memory quite a bit, and yeah, I just do a bunch of stuff normally with Clean My Mac. But with that setup, like in a little bit of an older setup, there's probably a lot of junk files that are just sitting there. So that will get a lot of junk files, like get rid of a bunch of junk files. And if I'm not mistaken, 2008 or 2010, I don't think they started using SSDs back then. So you might have a physical spinning drive in there. So if you have a physical spinning drive, the less space that is used, the faster the computer will be. So it should be faster. It should be. Thanks for doing this. Does the new Thomas J says, thanks for doing this. Does the new Magic Keyboard only work with the new iPad or with older versions? So as I was explaining before, I have the 2018 iPad Pro. As you can see, just one camera. The new setup has like two cameras and the LiDAR sensor. So yeah, I'm using an old iPad. I don't have any problems. There's no compatibility problems. But this is the last generation iPad that this keyboard will work with the trackpad. There's new smart keyboards for older iPads that you can always get, but I wouldn't recommend those. This is the only keyboard from Apple I would recommend. I've had previous keyboards from Apple, not as great. So if you do want this keyboard, I'd say go try and find a 2018 iPad Pro if you were looking to buy an iPad Pro and get into the iPad Pro kind of situation. Go for 2018. Don't waste your money on 2020. There's not too much of a difference. There's one graphic core that's unlocked. It's the same chip, but one more graphic core unlocked on the 2020 iPad Pro, and I think there's a little bit more RAM. That's it. Oh boy. Okay, so Voidbox says, I got to go for now, be back soon. Yes, hope to see you soon, Voidbox. I will be on, it looks like we've been on for 47 minutes, so I'll probably go to like 8:30, like 8:15, 8:30ish, just because I have a couple things to do, but yeah, thanks for coming. Braden Davis says you should do more live streams. I will be doing more live streams. In fact, there will be one on Friday. So for those of you who are here, you'll know that. I'll post it on the channel in just a little bit, but I will be having a kind of like a live Q&A for people who are interested in getting the iPhone SE and want to ask me questions live versus watching a video and maybe not having all their questions answered. So yes, I will be having more live streams. Jay Riviera says, is it true that charging the iPad Pro through the keyboard is slower than plugging it straight into the iPad Pro itself? Okay, from what I noticed, the charging speed is the same as the wall versus the smart connector, but some people are saying that it's like 70 to 80%. So I'm not sure what to believe. I'm using a MacBook Pro charger, basically, like the brick, and then a USB-C cable to the iPad Pro. I've tested it both ways, and it seems like it's equally as fast. So honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I think I'll literally have to sit here with a timer and kind of let it go to 0, charge it, and then charge it via another method, like the smart keyboard method, once it goes back to 0. But obviously with the battery life of the iPad Pro, that's going to be very hard. So I'll probably do that over the weekend. I have a couple other things to do this week, like the iPhone SE review and everything like that. Yeah, I will test that later, but for me, that's not like the biggest topic to just like test right now. Andrew Blaha says, I have been having problems with audio and battery issues with my AirPods Pro. For that reason, I got both AirPods Pro replacement and the wireless charging case. Wow, that seems like a pretty catastrophic breakdown there. I haven't had that many problems, but then again, I don't use my AirPods Pro as much as you would think. They're fantastic device, but they kind of fall out of my ears a little bit more easy than just having over-the-ear headphones, so I don't really like them. But I've been using these awesome things for the past couple days, the Beats Pro device. These are from Colorware, so I actually got them customized, red and blue color, and then the white case. Super cool company. I really love those guys. But they sent this over, and I've been using this for the past few days, and I think I'm going to be using this quite a bit. So yeah, who knows? AirPods, those, I'll probably do like a comparison in the near future. Sean Arcia says, is the MacBook Air i5 quad-core 256 gigabyte enough for a college student? Yeah, 256 gigs is actually a very good amount. What I would do is I would try and save as least amount of like work possible on your computer. What I do is I work from the cloud basically. So for iCloud, you can purchase like the next tier of like memory, and it's pretty cheap. And I just use everything off the cloud. So for like numbers, pages, anything like that, save directly to the cloud. That way, when I go from like my Mac to my iPad or to another Mac, I can just access everything, and then I can also access it if I go to iCloud.com. So that's actually a great way to store it versus just having it on one device on the physical hard drive. Sorry, let me get down to the next comment here. Dev Patel says, I am thinking of getting AirPods. I currently have Powerbeats 3 and are the AirPods 2 / new AirPods Lite basically the same? Is that an upgrade or not really? The Powerbeats 3. Beats have better sound, in my opinion, than the AirPods 2 and probably going to be the new AirPods Lite. The AirPods Lite is basically going to be the AirPod Pro design. So it'll have that new configuration with the in-ear like configuration versus like the old AirPod style, where it's just hard plastic. It'll have those rubber inserts, but it probably won't have the noise cancellation capabilities because that's just too expensive. So yeah, it would be an upgrade if you got the AirPods Pro, but I wouldn't really necessarily call it like an upgrade if you just switched over to the AirPods 2 or the new AirPods Lite. The only thing that you should really consider is, do you want like totally wireless headphones? So you should just kind of nail it down to that. Mac Chaos. I'm just going to call it Mac Chaos. Yeah, the MacBook Pro has like 256 gigabytes HDD, and he literally had to add additional RAM to make it run a bit faster because of how slow it was. Yes, that was always a problem. As you update to new versions of Mac OS or OS X, whatever he has, that will use more RAM natively. So yeah, RAM is very important. 6 gigabytes of RAM is a decent amount, but it's probably max for that computer, honestly. But you know, as of now, like I think 8 is standard, and then it goes all the way up to like 64. So yeah, I would. It might be time to like think about an upgrade. But if you just want to use Clean My Mac, it's something you can use on that machine and then like switch over to another machine. So just try it. Braden says, "Well, it's 10:48 p.m. here. Where are you? Wait, 10:48. It's got to be like New York, right?" Cool. Sean Arcia says, "What kind of USB-C hub adapter would you recommend?" Hub/adapter. I use Hyperdrive. So this is what I use for my iPad, and then I also use it for my MacBook Pro. But as far as like another hub, I don't really have a recommendation. I've gotten a lot of companies sending me like hubs. I rarely like them. This one from Hyperdrive works perfectly, and it comes in this configuration, or it comes in the configuration where it doesn't have this part. This part basically hooks onto the iPad Pro if I wanted to use it that way. So yeah, that's my recommendation there. Chaos. Okay. Thank you for letting me know how to pronounce your name. Andrew Blaha. I had my AirPods Pro since release day, but I had scuffling issues with my wireless charging case and then audio issues, so I had them replaced. and then I had them stolen after Christmas, so I had to. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. Um, Dev Patel, I'll just stick with my Powerbeats 3 then. Maybe we'll consider AirPods Pro for just the noise cancellation and transparency mode. Yeah, so noise cancellation and transparency, very good on the AirPods Pro. I'm actually really liking that. So if you want to upgrade from those Powerbeats, I'd save some money, go straight to the AirPods Pro. If it takes you a while to save up for that and you just don't want to buy it now, maybe wait until the next version of the AirPods Pro. I do expect something to be coming very soon, probably within a year of seeing the original AirPods. So whenever the original AirPods came out, probably a year from that. So yeah. Chaos for short. You got it. We'll just do that. So yeah, guys, if you guys have any more questions about the Apple Magic Keyboard, or if you have any other questions for me personally, like any other things, yeah, just let me know. I know it's getting late for some of you who might be out there on the East Coast or in other countries. So yeah, if you guys have to go sleep or whatever, cool, have fun. But the next live stream will be Friday. So Friday I'll have a live stream talking about the iPhone SE. Of course, you can ask me anything there as well. Conversation will be pretty open, but I'll be back on Friday for at least a couple of hours. Thank you. I've been waiting. Sean says, thank you. I've been waiting for my new MacBook Air a week now. Is this long for it to arrive? So MacBook Air, is it like the new one? If it's the new one, that's pretty typical. But right now, with things that are going on, since their Apple stores aren't kind of open and shipping has been kind of delayed for everything around the world, I wouldn't expect, like, that's not a long time. So hopefully it comes soon though. I'd say like maybe like a week and a half, but it all depends on the estimation date that they gave you when you ordered it. So they're probably going to stick to that. Lucas Thomas says, how is the angle compared to the Smart Keyboard Folio? Good night, Dev Patel, by the way. To answer your question, Lucas, the angle compared to the Smart Keyboard Folio, a lot better. The Smart Keyboard Folio probably only went to like here. Maybe here? It was right up against the keyboard. That's what I remember. But it didn't go up. And I know this floating design, like, yeah, it looks cool. And yeah, it's actually useful. Like, a lot of people just thought it was for aesthetics. It actually is useful because it pops everything up and leans everything back. But here, I have even more room to go up, and the viewing angle a lot better than the Smart Folio. So I had the Smart Folio before, so I know from experience that this is a huge upgrade over the Smart Folio as far as like typing wise, and then also the viewing angles as well. The Smart Folio had a couple viewing angles, but they just weren't always right. So yeah, way better here. DJ Smith 21 says, if Apple decides to release new AirPods, could there be a possibility of the second gen AirPods be discontinued? Very likely. From the news and rumors that we've been hearing, the second generation AirPods probably going to be the last AirPods of that design that we see. So that would be very sad because we've seen that design since like EarPods, the wired headphones. So that would be very disappointing because I know a lot of users don't like the AirPods Pro. They like the old design, but Apple's all about pushing new designs and moving forward. So I do expect if like a new like budget or cheaper option of the AirPods Pro comes out, that the AirPods 2 would be discontinued. But if you were someone who wants the AirPods 2 at a cheaper price, that would be a perfect time to get it. Carba, is the trackpad too small? I've heard that a lot. For me, the trackpad's not too small. For me, well, let me answer that again. It is too small for me. For most people, though, I can tell it won't be too small. I'll explain this. So when I use my trackpad on the MacBook Pro, huge trackpad area. It's almost 4 times bigger than the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard. I get like cramps in my fingers and my hand. it's not because I have any problems or anything. It's just like when I'm usually doing that, I'm doing like a lot of things on screen. So like going editing videos, like cutting multiple areas. So my hand gets cramped. I don't think I've been doing that lately on the iPad. I've been doing more like browsing and everything like that. So for me, this is actually a perfect size. I wouldn't want it to come out even more this way. I think this is perfect. So yeah, as far as like the keyboard or the keyboard size and then like the trackpad, I think it's perfect for this configuration. I can't ask for anything more. I don't have any complaints with the trackpad. So good night to some of you that are leaving. I hope you have a great night. Be sure to join us on Friday for a live stream featuring the iPhone SE. Cool. Trey L. Johnson says, I just bought the iPad 7. No slowdown really. So, no slowdown really. Wow, that's. So, iPad 7 getting iOS 14 in June. So, I think the question there is the iPad 7 getting iOS 14 in June? It depends. It depends. Like iPad OS, it depends on where they take that. I do expect the support for iPad to be a little bit longer than the iPad, so I would say maybe the iPad 7th generation would get that, but probably with reduced features. So I think Apple will start releasing software in the future, like iOS 14, iOS 15, to even older devices, but it will be kind of reduced features, and it won't be like the full iOS 14 or iOS 15 experience. Good night, Lucas. Thanks for joining us today. I mentioned this earlier, but since people are heading out right now and it's getting kind of late, probably around like 8:15, I'll be heading out. So it's 8:02 now, so probably like another 13 minutes I'll be on stream, and you guys can ask me anything that you want. Yeah, but one point that I wanted to share with you guys is for those of you who are wondering, like, is this whole setup worth it? So $350 for this, and then like $1,000+ for the iPad Pro, versus going and getting like a MacBook Pro or maybe a MacBook Air. Still, for me, I would go iPad just because there's a lot of things that you can do with the iPad in the future that I think Apple will be expanding on once iOS 14 comes out. So iOS 14 should be here in June, I think. So we'll get a first preview as far as like iPadOS 14 and iOS 14, what that brings to the table. But as far as like app developers right now, they're developing their apps around the Magic Keyboard with Trackpad and the iPad Pro. And they're doing so with thoughts of, future compatibility with Apple getting even better. So I think, like, as far as looking at like the Mac lineup and then the iPad lineup trajectory of like new features and more expandability is a lot higher than the Mac lineup, simply because it's kind of capped by what it already has now. It can only get faster. It can't really have access to more things. So having access to more things in the near future on the iPad, I think, is a great thing to look forward to. So yeah. Chaos says, it's funny, we gave our first gen iPad to my dad and it runs iOS 9.3.5. That's a long time ago. I remember iOS 9. That was cool. Trey L. Johnson says, love your channel, keep it up. Thank you very much, Trey. I appreciate that. Hopefully we'll continue to grow here and just keep on going. Make some awesome content. DJ Smith 21 says, do you think the iPhone or the iPhone 6s would be getting iOS 14? I don't know. As I said like just a few minutes ago, I do expect older versions of like hardware to be getting these updates, but it will either slow that phone down so much that it won't be worth it, or it would have reduced features. But given that Apple released just before iOS 14 testing is starting, like in June, they just released the iPhone SE. I do expect the 6S not to be getting iOS 14 simply because the SE just came out. The previous SE was released 2016, so quite a long time ago. and that was backwards compatible with a lot of versions of iOS. I think the reason for the new SE was the price point. So if you're going from a 6S to the new SE, it is an upgrade, and the price point is good. So I think for Apple, the lowest version like phone, like the as far as price, $399 is what you're going to have to pay to get into the iOS 14 lineup if you have like an iPhone 6S or something like that. So do keep that in mind. The iPhone SE was released for a reason. I think that's the reason, was just for compatibility issues that people may have. Apple's biggest thing has been software support. It's been great. They provide software updates for a very long time. But in the past, people have criticized Apple for releasing software updates and not giving support to older devices. Well, they're not going to spend a bunch of time supporting older devices. They'll likely just switch over their focus to making devices that are cheaper, like the iPhone SE. So I hope that answers that question. Sean Arcia says, yep, he reviews better than other tech reviewers out there. Thank you very much. I'm not very flamboyant as other YouTubers are, and that's definitely not a bad thing. This is just my personality. I'm very straight to the point business as per usual. But yeah, thank you. Jay Rivera says, do you think my iPad Pro USB hub will still fit with this Magic Keyboard? I have the Hyperdrive. Oh, you have the Hyperdrive. Yes, so I was using mine with the Smart Folio, I believe. So I had the Smart Folio back kind of case for my iPad Pro 12.9-inch model here, and I was using it. You just have to kind of like bend it over a little bit. What I did was I just heated it up, and it kind of naturally bent in the middle, and then I could fit that Hyperdrive in, and it was very snug. It actually helps because the keyboard or the back plate presses up against it. Just make sure that this doesn't go too far back because it does have to connect with these smart connection pins. But I do think that'll work. I'll have to, like, as you may know, if you get the Hyperdrive, you get this attachment and then the other attachment, and you have to like screw this out and reinstall it. So I'll do that and check it out and see if it will actually work. But since I use this mainly for my my Mac right now, I don't really have a need for it. I actually haven't been hooking up much to my iPad Pro. If anything, it's just all direct. And what's really cool is I have this extra USB-C port on the side, so I can just use that instead of using a dongle or anything like that. So that's one of the added kind of good things that come with this keyboard purchase. Andrew Blaha, I'm going to get my Magic Keyboard for my iPad Pro 11 first generation on Saturday. Awesome. Cool. Was it delayed, or did you just order late? Hopefully it wasn't delayed that long. I know a lot of people are experiencing delays with the iPad Pro like keyboards that just came out. That's to be expected. Like they're going to have delays. But yeah, I mean, hopefully things come. My iPhone SE was delayed by Apple. It's supposed to be arriving Friday, but it says there was a delay, but it never really said that there was a change of date. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I think UPS is just preemptively saying this might be late. So yeah. When do you think iOS 13.2.3 will come out for the iPhone XR? 13.2.3? iPhone XR? We're on like iOS 13.4. Maybe you should update Mohammed Zain, iPhone XR. I think you have access to iOS 13.4.1, if I'm not mistaken. Check it out. Does this work for the iPad Pro second generation? Gen 2's 2017. Wait, what just happened? It said I was offline. Oh, that was just for chat. Does this work for the iPad Pro Gen 2 2017? iPad Pro Gen 2. Honestly, I'm drawing a blank on which device that is. Okay, this is really easy. If you have the iPad Pro with curves in it, that will work. What I will do is I'll post a link to the keyboards in the chat, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So if you go to that link, you can see compatibility. It is compatible with iPad Pro 12.9-inch 3rd and 4th generation, iPad Pro 11-inch 1st and 2nd generation. So to answer your question, iPad Pro Gen 2 2017, I don't think so. So yeah, I don't think so. But do check on that, because I don't know what iPad that is. I don't know if that's an 11-inch or not. For some reason, I'm not able to access chat here, which is very concerning. So, one second. I'm not able to access the chat right now, so let me try and figure this out. Yep, says the chat is totally unavailable. This really sucks. I don't know why the chat is unavailable. It just says unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. I don't know, YouTube. YouTube is very strange. Anyways, guys, well, it's 8:12 and I can't connect to chat, so that sucks. It says we're still live, so I'm assuming that you guys can still see and hear me, but I just can't read chat. I have tried to reconnect the chat. I'll even go to pop-out chat. Oh, here, pop-out chat works a lot better. Trey L. Johnson's, she's saying iPhone XR getting iOS 14 this year. Yep, should be here in June. iPhone XR. Tech for your needs. Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah. So, guys, it is almost 8:15. If you have any last-ditch questions, let me know in the chat. But that will kind of conclude today's stream. This was really just a test. I really just want to do this as a test because on Friday we'll have another stream. It'll be the iPhone SE stream. So if we get to the amount of likes for the video, I'll kind of announce stuff there for the iPhone SE giveaway. But if we don't, which I don't think we will, we'll do another live stream for the giveaway. But for iPhone SE on Friday, that will be a Q&A, just answering your questions about the iPhone SE, my experience and everything like that. So I'll be back to chat with you on Friday. And yeah, we'll have some fun there. And how is the Alien... question from RC Maniac. How is the Alien Wi-Fi setup working after having used it? Worth buying is just one without the mesh. The Alien Wi-Fi setup is a lot better than what I had before, is the Amplify HD system, and that system was already really good. So with the Amplify Alien system, it's Wi-Fi 6 compatible. So Wi-Fi 6 works with devices like the iPhone or something like that, like a newer device. So Wi-Fi 6 is really more an investment into the future if you get the Alien, but the mesh system and the overall coverage of the Alien is really good. You don't have to get a mesh system. They're single unit, really good coverage. But if you get a mesh system, it works even better. And the data going between the mesh system is 1 gigabyte up and down, or 1 gigabit up and down. So you're not going to have any problems there. But I did notice that my performance on, like when I go to another part of the house, when I'm using that Wi-Fi setup, it's a lot better downstairs. I get farther coverage and the speeds are higher than what the HD had. If you have a regular router, non-mesh, you're going to notice a huge difference. So yeah, watch my videos on that. It's been a really great experience. When Muhammad Zain, what iOS 14 update will be? I'm assuming your question is when will it be? iOS 14 will be probably in June. probably late June, just because everything has been delayed here. So I do expect that to be in late June. Chaos says, you're the best band. Keep up the awesome streams. Yes, I will be keeping up the streams. I tried doing this before. I just didn't have the hardware for it, and it just wasn't that great. So I wanted to keep the quality. I've dropped 141 frames here. That's not that much when you're doing like 60 frames per second. But it looks like the hardware is doing pretty well here. I'll take a look at the stream later and see how it is. But so far, I'm pretty pleased with how the stream kind of software and hardware is set up right now. So I'll be streaming a lot more. We have all the time in the world right now. So there's no reason not to. RC Maniac, appreciate the answer. Awesome. Cool. Muhammad Zain, what is the update about? iOS 14, like what's the update going to be? It's going to be like new wallpapers, new UI, new possibly functions. You're just going to have to wait and see. But I will have more iOS 14 content next week on all the leaks and rumors that we've seen. They point to a lot of stuff that we should be seeing in iOS 14. So stay tuned for that. Do you use paper like on your iPad or any other of those? Jay Riviera, really quickly, what does your question mean? Can you rephrase that question really quickly? Do you use paper like on your iPad or any other of those? Just rephrase that question. I'll be sure to answer that. If you're asking if I use my iPad like a piece of paper, yeah, I do. I do write on it quite a bit. I take a lot of notes, like a lot of written notes, a lot of like drawings. I've been like drawing out different rooms and different spaces, and I've been using it to kind of draw all that out. Paper-like is a screen protector that makes it more like paper. Oh, yes. I had a friend that used a product like that. I'm not sure if it was paper-like, but a friend of mine used a product like that, and she was an artist, and she actually really liked the feel of that. So definitely check out the reviews on the product that you're looking at. Look at the reviews. The reviews will tell you, like the artist will be in there saying, is this good or not? Because you really want an artist's perspective on if it actually feels like paper. If you're just using it from a perspective of like, I use paper, this feels like paper, then yeah. But if you're an artist, I know a lot of artists get screen protectors like that for the iPad Pro so that they can effectively do their art without, if you just do the pencil to the screen, it's like really slippery, and it's kind of really hard to draw for some users out there. So they use that screen protector. As far as me using it personally, I don't have a screen protector. I've never used that type of screen protector. On my iPad, I've actually used my friend's iPad with that screen protector, like a paper-like screen protector, and it felt really good. Felt really realistic, and no scratches or anything like that on it. I thought it was a pretty good buy for her, but I do think that you should read the reviews before buying, because artists will be saying whether it's good or not. Okay, I'll answer 3 more questions, max, if there are 3 questions, and then I'll head out here. It's been like an hour and 20 minutes almost, and I'm getting hungry. So when Muhammad Zain says, when will watch OS 7 or 8 for Apple Watch be for Series 5? Like the next update for watchOS will be in June alongside iPadOS and iOS. So you'll just have to wait and see what they release within that update. But yeah, I do expect that in the near future we should be seeing another generation of Apple Watch, since they seem to be pushing that out almost yearly now. So just like the iPhone, pretty soon here you'll have to be upgrading the watch every year, and you might be getting like a whole new ecosystem every year. New Mac, new phone, new iPad, new watch. It seems like it's coming out every year. Andrew Blaha, good night, Jeff. Tech review. Thank you very much. I will see you soon. Hopefully I'll see you on Friday. Braden Davis, you should do more leaks and videos, rumors. You should do more videos on leaks and rumors. Yeah. So I'd rather do a live stream of leaks and rumors, but I don't want to do that because that takes a lot of time. The videos on leaks and rumors, I do appreciate from some creators, but sometimes leaks and rumors get so blown out of proportion, and what these YouTubers are doing is they're creating a channel that, like, it's just all fake. Like, the information is all fake. Like, I could totally say the next iPhone will have like a super Retina OLED display and it'll be 1,000 nits. I could say that and say it's a leak. That's what people are basing their videos on. Just people like me or people that are in the know from Apple on Twitter, what their thoughts are. A lot of concept artists post stuff, and 9to5Mac does a really great job at like sourcing the code and everything like that, but there's no visual to that. So people are just like, all these leaks about widgets and different iOS 14 features. Those are all just extrapolated from basically the code of iOS 14. Visually, they're not really accurate. As far as like iPhone products, like any products coming from Apple, I've done a few leaks and rumors videos, but I'm just not into all that. And right now, the goal of the channel is to expand into different companies as well. So I'm not going to pull away from Apple stuff, but I do want to kind of work with other companies like Samsung, LG, Canon, companies like that, where we can really expand on content rather than just have the same thing kind of over and over again. Like, I do get bored kind of doing like the same videos over and over again. So I'd like to expand. The channel is tech review. I'd like to review other tech products and other tech categories. So we've been working on that this year. We had product from LG, the LG V60. That was a great review. Love that device. Kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And then we'll have stuff from Samsung and LG here in just a few weeks, months. Who knows? With what's going on right now, everything is kind of backed up, but we should be getting some awesome TVs from those two companies pretty soon. Goal of the channel is to expand it. So as far as leaks and rumors videos, to answer your question or your statement, I probably will keep them about the same consistency as I am now, but on products that like are pretty hot topics. But yeah, I don't want this to become solely a leaks and rumors channel. Chaos, yeah, good night, Jeff. I'll see you on Friday, man. Cool. Thanks for joining, Chaos. Yeah, I'm going to end the stream like in a minute. But yeah, Chaos, I'll see you on Friday. Should be probably around like the evening time on Friday. Same time. Sorry that my Jay Rivera says, sorry, that's my last question. I promise Friday I'll come with more questions. Please do. I'll always answer your questions. So I hope to see you Friday, and I look forward to seeing you Friday. I'll have 2 videos out on Friday, probably with the iPhone SE. It'll be the iPhone SE review, and then the iPhone SE versus iPhone 11 Pro Max speed comparison, taking the most budget option, comparing it to the top of the line, and they both have the same A13 Bionic chip. So I'll be comparing speed between the two. I think that'll be a really interesting test. Last question, since I said I'd answer 3. Victor Barajas, what are your thoughts about using an iPhone as a portable trackpad? You think Apple would ever develop an app? I think there's app developers that do that now. And it doesn't work quite well. I don't think Apple will ever do that. There's no reason to. They have, if you're saying the iPhone is a portable trackpad with like something like a MacBook Pro or an iMac, I don't think they'll ever do that. They'll just encourage you to use an iPad, or they might as well just create a touchscreen Mac. But I don't think they'll do that. I think they're moving more towards products like the iPad and making, obviously it's touchscreen, making that more kind of fluid more of a fluid experience rather than just using something like Mac OS. Andrew Blaha, I look forward to more videos on iOS updates from your channel. Yes, I'll do iOS updates. I'm not saying those are going away, and I will be doing them consistently. It's just there will be other pieces of content that I hope you enjoy. I hope you watch. Like the LG videos, like those were cool. It's just a breath of fresh air. The LG videos were kind of fun to make. Definitely expanded my thinking on how to create videos and everything like that. So those were kind of fun pieces of content, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I did a review on the LG V60 and also a review or kind of a comparison between the LG V60 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And it just gives, for any Apple users out there, it gives them the perspective of using Android devices, which is always good because, people need to know what else is on the market and what they should expect from Apple. And then from Android users, they get to see the Apple perspective and even the Android perspective as well. And it's not going to be only phones, it'll be other stuff as well. But yeah, more expansive content in the near future. Scott Peabody says, good night. Good night, Scott. Hope to see you Friday, by the way. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us on this stream. It's been like almost an hour and 30 minutes. I am finally going to say goodbye. I will see you guys on Friday for the live stream for the iPhone SE. Since everything is working here, I think I'm going to leave everything the same, and hope that keep the fingers crossed that Friday it will work just as well. So good night, everyone. Thank you, mods, for all of your hard work. And if you want to mod in the near future, just message me on Discord and we can talk about it. But guys, hope you have a good night. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy at home. And yeah, I think that will end it for today's stream. Again, hope to see you on Friday. Peace out, guys.